Greetings, y'all. Welcome to another video. Real quick, I just wanted to give you all a heads up. I've been doing these videos for like 3 years, and I know most people just watch like the most recent one, but I've got playlists set up for all of my previous videos broken into like categories. So if you want to go check out some of my older stuff, like when I first started making these videos, I didn't have access to all my CDs. I only had access to my vinyl. So I just did all the vinyl ones and haven't had to do those really anymore because they were done. But anyways, so if you want to check out any of those, go to the playlist thing. I've got playlists set up for all the different categories: vinyl, CDs, record store visits, rewinds like from previous times, new pickups like today, Goodwill pickups, favorites like top 5 album covers, things like that. Some special ones like the last of my cassettes, the last of my 45s, threads that people do like Rob Walker's and stuff like that. And then finally, the Van Halen category, and I'm not even going to talk about all the nonsense still going on with that dumb band that I'm a fan of. Anyways, today we are talking about some new pickups that I got over the last couple of months, all from different places. And some of these I haven't really had the chance to really, dig in and really give them like the attention that they deserve, to kind of think of different tracks that I really like or what's really catching my ear. Like I usually try to do that. I usually try to give you guys a couple of tracks on each album that I really like. But like I said, some of these are kind of on that, infamous backlog like we all have that are still just kind of waiting for me to have the time to sit down and just really kind of, pay attention to and listen to. So we're just going to breeze through these. These first ones I picked up all from good old eBay. 1981, we get The Church and their debut album of Skins and Heart. I've been looking for this for a long time now. I've seen it on eBay and Discogs and stuff like that, but it's always pretty expensive. And it was funny, I was on a Facebook group that I'm a member of called I think it's like CD Collectors or CD Cave, something like that. And someone posted a picture of this record and said that they were listening to it or something like that. And I mentioned I've been trying to find that for a little while. And somebody made a comment like, hey, there's one up on eBay right now for sale. And I went over to eBay to see what it was, expecting that it would be very expensive. And it was only like $10, I think, surprisingly, which, that to me for this record seemed reasonable because like I said, I've been looking for it for a while. And it was just always really priced pretty high. I just never had any luck. Not too much in the booklet there. So $10, I was debating about it. Like maybe I could find it, a little cheaper down the road or something. But I've just had no luck, and I've been looking for it for so long. I just said, screw it, I'm going to buy it, and picked it up. And I've listened to it a couple of times, and it is really good. I really like it. It's kind of that alternative rock, I guess, elements of like new wave and I guess post-punk in here. But yeah, I really enjoy this. Glad I finally have got it. 2002, we get Bill Hicks' album Love, Laughter, and Truth. And I love Bill Hicks. He's one of my favorite comedians. I actually saw him. There's an infamous show that he went on Letterman when Letterman first went to CBS, and they cut his whole set out of the show. And I was at the show that night in the theater, and when I went home and watched it, it was like, what the hell happened here? And then it turned into this big thing where Letterman and his producers were a little nervous about some of his material because now they were on CBS at an earlier hour, and they decided to cut it. And it just turned into this big thorn in his side, and it just kind of set him off. And it just was an ugly chapter, in his history, not from his point of view, but that the Letterman people would do that. They knew his act, they had approved it. So it was just really more of a stain on the Letterman show, not Bill Hicks at all. But years and years later, after he unfortunately had passed away at a very young age, the Letterman people decided to finally air it, and they invited Bill Hicks's mom on to have her as a guest, and Letterman apologized and all this. But Anyways, he's a great comedian. I wish he was still around today. I would love to be hearing what he would have to say, you know, about the world we live in now, you know. But this is kind of a collection. Ryko just put this out. There's a handful of his material available out there, and this one is kind of made up from a lot of like sort of not leftovers, but just like stuff that they hadn't released previously. So they put this out to kind of, you know, sort of round out the collection. Listen to this once or twice. Again, it's all from different shows, so like the sound quality is a little bit all over the place, but I'm glad I could finally add this. I have like maybe 4 or 5 of his other CDs, so I was glad to kind of add this to my collection. From 1985, we get Guadalcanal Diary and their full-length debut album, Walking in the Shadow of the Big Band. Band out of Georgia, alternative rock, college rock, modern rock, whatever rock you want to call them, you know, heavily compared to REM, their fellow Georgia statesman band. I remember them back then hearing some of their tunes, but hadn't thought of this band in ages. And just, you know, like a month or 2 months ago, for whatever reason, somehow they crossed my mind, and I was like, yeah, you know, I maybe should pick something up by them. I didn't have anything by them. I've never had anything by them. I just remember liking a couple of their songs. And somebody on eBay was selling 2 of their records together. And and they wanted a certain amount. I don't remember. And they had like a best offer thing. And I kind of put in a best offer. And the guy sent me a message, and I was just like, you know, look, I'm not familiar with the band that much, and I kind of only looking for this one record, so I'm really not sure if I'm going to get that record and like it, or if I don't like it, then I got 2 records, blah, 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 blah. So he ultimately agreed to my price, and I wasn't trying to like, you know, undercut him. I told him like, look, dude, I understand. I'm not trying to like, you know, get one over on you. It's just, this is my scenario. And the guy agreed, and I got him, and I haven't listened to them that much, but I like what I'm hearing. Like if like an alien came down from space and said like, I want an example of what college rock is, like that classic period of college rock in the 80s, like this would be a great example, I think. You know, that's exactly what this sounds like. This is like, yeah, that's what that whole college rock, you know, kind of genre was like. Bands that sounded like that, that's what, you know, they called college rock. But it's pretty good. Like I said, I haven't dove too deep into this one. It's produced by Don Dixon, who I kind of like some of his solo material. But yeah, so I really need to spend a little more time with this one, as well as their 1987 album, 2x4. This one also produced by Don Dixon. I think this is their 3rd record. I guess in between these 2, they made another record and went with a different producer, and then brought Don Dixon back into the fold for this one. This is like kind of, I think when people think of this band, this is the album that they think of. I think this was their most successful. There's a tune on here called Litany, Life Goes On. That was pretty successful on college rock. That was all over the airwaves at the time. But yeah, again, this one I need to spend a little bit more time with, but same thing. It's got that alternative rock sound, and just like a classic modern rock sound. And yeah, so I'm really kind of enjoying these, but need to spend a little bit more time with them. 2001, we get the Soundtrack of Our Lives and their album Behind the Music. Now, for this stretch of the video, these are all CDs I got from our good pal, YouTube sweetheart, JT of JT's Record Room. When I went out and visited him in Reno, Nevada, he right when I was leaving, I think I had to go back. I think I left something at his house, and I had to go back for it. And when I went back, he's like, hold on, I want to give you some more CDs. I was like, dude, like we had just gone to a record store. There's a video of me and him hanging out at Recycled Records, I think it's called, in Reno. And he's like, let me give you a couple more CDs. And I was like, oh man, dude, like I got enough, you know. But he came out and handed me a couple more CDs before I left. This was one of them. I was familiar with this band. I knew of them, but I couldn't tell you a song by them to save my life. I've listened to this a little bit, haven't delved too deep into it. But you know, it's a Swedish band. I think they were pretty popular in like the early 2000s. I'm not sure. They might still be around. I'm not positive, but you know, I remember them. I just don't really remember too much about them. But you know, there's a couple of bands in those early 2000s from Sweden that I was fans of, and I'm guessing these guys are kind of in that same, you know, peer group as them. But I haven't spent too much time with this one, but what I've heard is not too bad. I kind of like it. 1988, we get Tracy Chapman's self-titled debut. Also, this is from JT as well. You know, everybody knows this record. It was a massive success. I don't know that she really had much success after this record. You know, like I don't know that I would call her a one-hit wonder, but I just, like, this is just one of those records that was so huge that it was almost like impossible for her to, you know, follow that up as far as like sales go and stuff like that. But you know, I remember her, not somebody I ever really, you know, I liked, Fast Car was the big hit single off of this that everybody went crazy about, and I thought it was okay at the time. It was not anything really like that I ever was dying to own or anything, but when he handed it to me, I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. Yeah, I'd be curious to listen to the rest of that. You know, she's kind of, you know, kind of that like folk rock kind of sound to it. And it's pretty good. I listened to it just the other day, I think, for the first time, and I liked it. 1966, JT gives me the Kinks and their compilation, Well Respected Kinks. I have a handful of Kinks records. I think I have a Greatest Hits record by them, but I feel like that one might kind of concentrate on more like 70s and 80s stuff, as opposed to this like 60s singles. No booklet, just a thing, which is a bummer, you know, especially with like a compilation. You'd really want like some liner notes and stuff. There are some information here on the back, which looks like it's like each member kind of wrote like a little thing here, talking about the band or whatever. But yeah, good compilation. I mean, you can't go wrong with any kind of Kinks compilation. This has Well Respected Man, Where Have All the Good Times Gone, All Day and All Night, You Really Got Me. But yeah, nice little compact collection of some early cool Kinks tunes. Thank you, JT, for all of these. 1985, we get Elliot Easton and his solo album, Change No Change. Elliot Easton, the guitar player from The Cars. I picked this one up directly from Wounded Bird. They're kind of like a reissue CD company, boutique CD company that's been around forever. They usually have a lot of decent stuff. They do a pretty good job on their collections. They don't really go nutty with like liner notes and stuff like that, which is a bummer, but you know, cool, like some of these records that had no CD release or very limited CD release that they've picked up, mostly from like the Warner family, Atlantic, Elektra, Warner, those titles. But I'd always kind of be curious about this record. I remember when it came out, because like it seemed like a bunch of the Cars released solo records after Heartbeat City. Rick Ocasek, Ben Orr, and Ellie Easton all put out solo albums. And I was familiar with Rick Ocasek's and Ben Orr's. Both of those were pretty decent. Ben Orr's, actually, when I finally got the CD, it was from Wounded Bird as well. But this one I never picked up, and for the longest time, it was very hard to get because it was out of print. Even the Wounded Bird one was, and I just happened to go on Wounded Bird's website. I do every now and then. It's the website's very ancient. It's like they haven't updated it since 1999. But I still check it once every year or so, because sometimes things that were out of print, suddenly they get them again. So that was the case with this. Cost me $10. I've listened to this once or twice. It's pretty good. There's also some bonus tracks on this record, produced by Roy Thomas Baker, who did a lot of the early Cars stuff. But it was for a band called Band of Angels, a release that never saw the light of day. I guess Ellie Easton was trying to put together a band, and they recorded a couple of songs, but it just never was released, or maybe it was, I don't know, but I didn't think it was released. But on back here it's saying Atlantic with a number, so maybe it did get released. I didn't think it did, but anyways, so yeah, so pretty cool pickup. 2002, we get the Yeah Yeah Yeahs and their 10-inch release machine. Picked this up at a local record store, very good record store in the area called Lofidelic Records down in Belmar, New Jersey. Check them out. Great shop. Owner's really cool. They've got a good selection. He posted this on like Instagram or something, and I was like, dude, can you hold that for me? I'll come down tomorrow. And he did. I'm a big Yeah Yeah Yeahs fan. One of my favorite bands of all time. Seen them live a million times. Got all their stuff on vinyl, CD, whatever. And this was something, I have this on CD, but didn't have it on vinyl. And when I saw it there, I just decided I'd add it. It wasn't like really something I felt like I needed, but this is one of those bands that I just pick up, you know, whatever I see by them. And so I grabbed it. It's on pink vinyl here. And it's cool to have in the collection. Not really something I'm going to listen to very often. It's got 3 tracks on here, Machine, Graveyard, and it's got a remix of Pin, which is on Fever to Tell. But yeah, happy to add this to the collection. And finally, from 1997, last but not least, the great Muffs and their album Happy Birthday to Me on vinyl. My favorite record by them. I love all their stuff, but this is my favorite album by them. And from what I understand, it's the band's favorite album, which is kind of cool. So getting this on vinyl, I had this on vinyl. I had a other copy of this I picked up years ago, and when they reissued this, I mentioned like I think Ronnie, the bass player, posted something like, we're reissuing this album, and I said, oh, I already have that on vinyl. And he said, well, that copy, the quality isn't as great. This was much better, the sound quality. So I decided I would listen to him, he should know, and pick this up on vinyl. Now here's the history of this. I pre-ordered this on vinyl. I forget what the company was that was releasing it, and it never showed up. I contacted them, what's going on? They said, we're having trouble pressing vinyl. It's all backed up. We can't get any copies. Please, you know, we're sorry. We apologize. If you want to cancel it, we will, or you can just hold on to it and we won't charge you until it arrives. And I was like, that's fine, whatever. And so waiting and waiting and waiting, and literally, I think maybe 2 years had gone by. I never got this, never heard anything. I reached out to them once or twice here and there and just be like, any news? And they'd be like, sorry, it's still the same thing. And then finally, like last year sometime, a different company announced they were reissuing this. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I still have my pre-order for another company. I think this was HelloFresh was releasing this. So I said, well, screw it. I contacted the other company. I said, cancel my order. And I ordered it from HelloFresh. I got it like in 2 days. And the other company reached out to me and they were like, oh, we're getting it in next week. You know, if you want to save your order, we'll finally be able. And I said, it's too late. I already got it from the other guys. So finally got this, the reissue, remaster, whatever, on vinyl. And just happy to have. I love this band. I was so bummed out when Kim passed away. It's a great album. If I can find the record, there it is. Just on black vinyl here. But it's a great album. If you're not familiar with the Muffs, they're kind of like alternative rock band, a little bit of like a punk edge to them, I guess. I don't think they refer to themselves as punk, but it definitely has that. They definitely could fit in that category if you wanted to. But this album's just chock full of amazing tunes. Crush Me, That Awful Man, Honeymoon, Penny Horror, Outer Space, I'm a Dick, Keep Holding Me, The Best Time Around. I just love every track on here. If you're not familiar with the Muffs and you want to dip your toes in, try this one. It's awesome. So that's everything for my pickups this time. I appreciate you watching. As always, I love watching your videos. I watch all your videos out there. Even if I don't make a comment, I can assure you I'm watching them. So please stay tuned for some more. Go check out other people's record pickup videos. And I'll see you another time later, y'all.